and will later be made available via the Board of Trustees website. A quorum is present for the transaction of business. Participation in the meeting is limited to members of the board and to those individuals the board has invited in advance to take part. Before delving into our meeting, we have two housekeeping items. I'll ask that the minutes of this meeting reflect that on November 12th, 2024, the Board of Trustees met in executive session as permitted by the Sunshine Act to discuss university business which, if conducted in public, would lead to the disclosure of confidential information. And I'd ask that the minutes reflect that the Board of Trustees met in executive session earlier today, as permitted by the Sunshine Act, to consult with an attorney about active litigation. With that, the minutes of the September 26th, 2024 public meeting of the board were circulated in advance of today's meeting and were included in our meeting materials. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes? And a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The minutes are approved. At this time, I'll now turn to Chancellor Gable and ask that she share her report with us. Chancellor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. It's a pleasure to be with you today to update you on university activities and progress under the Plan for Pitt 2028 since we last had a chance to visit in September. I'll note that shortly after that meeting, where we updated you on our annual report, we submitted that report to the Pennsylvania General Assembly in Harrisburg, which fulfills a requirement under the university's agreement with the Commonwealth as a state-related university. Members of the board, since we were together, of course, we had our national election, and in recognition of our role in civic preparedness, as well as Pitt's commitment under its strategic plan to the Year of Discourse and Dialogue, we convened a panel discussion shortly after the election with our partner at the Institute for Citizens and Scholars, Raj Vinakota. I provided the opening remarks, and our Dean of the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs, Carissa Slaughterback, and our colleague and Vice President of the Faculty Senate, Professor Chris Kantak, joined Raj for a very interesting panel with students, faculty, and staff, where we discussed why it's critical that the university foster an environment where students learn the skills necessary to engage in a productive dialogue across a society of diverse thought. This event really reflects what we see as Pitt's role as a leader in this space, being among the founding members of the College Presidents for Civic Preparedness and one of the first founding universities to sign the campus call for free expression. And we look forward to continuing to find opportunities to explore these topics as the Provost's office continues the Year of Discourse and Dialogue. We also continued our engagement around the state. Since the fall semester began, we've now visited with different members of the senior leadership team all three of our campuses, most recently in Bradford and Johnstown. We were able to have wonderful visits in Greensburg, where we did the ribbon cutting on the expansion of the David C. Frederick Honors College, and in October and November we had highly engaged visits in Bradford and Johnstown with different members of the team, and with great appreciation to all three presidents for wonderful efforts in hosting us and introducing us to all the excellent programs going on there. And then locally, we had a very nice visit and engagement in Greater Hazelwood. The university community marked a major milestone there on November 15th as we gathered with our community partners to reveal our plans for our new Community Engagement Center in Greater Hazelwood. Greater Hazelwood will be our third Community Engagement Center and will be housed within a new headquarters for the Center of Life, which is a neighborhood nonprofit organization that offers a range of services, programming, and community enrichment efforts for residents. And we'll keep you posted on those plans for construction as they take shape, with sincere thanks and congratulations to everyone across the university under the leadership of Dr. Lena DiStilio, and with all of our community partners who helped us reach this milestone together. And then looking in our global engagement and in a similar welcoming and engaged component of our Plan for Pitt 2028 spirit, last month I had the honor of moderating a panel at the Global Federation of Competitiveness Council's 2024 annual meeting after a very quick 36 hours in Belfast, hosted by one of our partners, Queen's University. Coming out of that summit, I'm pleased to report that the baton was passed from Queen's University to the University of Pittsburgh. We will host the 2025 Global Innovation Summit here in Pittsburgh next fall. The themed summit brings together partners from industry, thought leaders, government leaders, and scholars for panels, site visits, and conversations. And while there are details to finalize, the theme for next year's Global Innovation Summit in Pittsburgh will revolve around AI, tech, and health science and healthcare. We will anchor in our strength in Bioforge and also highlight our leading global position in the use of AI in healthcare for diagnostics, clinical training, assistive technologies, accessibility, and a few things we have in the pipeline that we'll be announcing between now and next fall that we look forward to talking with you about. So stay tuned. We'll have more details about this important event for our community, which highlights another really exciting community event that we had recently in partnership with NVIDIA around the AI tech community's Horizons announcement that took place in October. Our partners with NVIDIA were here to announce this first tech community, the first of its kind, which is in Pittsburgh. With the University of Pittsburgh, they hosted a joint center for AI and intelligent systems. This is a developing collaboration where we will be accelerating how medical research is done, healthcare is delivered in Pittsburgh and beyond. It will advance our computational opportunities across our research capabilities in a lot of exciting ways. And as you can see, I was honored to join the governor and our neighbors at Carnegie Mellon and my colleague, President Farnham Jahanian, who will also have a center at Carnegie Mellon for this exciting announcement. I have an update for you on unionization across campus. Members of the board, in October, the Pennsylvania Labor Relations Board officially certified the United Steelworkers Union as the exclusive bargaining representative for the two staff bargaining units, both professional and non-professional. The university selected the members of its bargaining committees and is now formulating its bargaining strategies and objectives and gathering relevant information in preparation for the commencement of the formal bargaining process, which we anticipate will begin in the new year. And we'll have regular updates available on the website staffunionization.pitt.edu. The graduate student election was held in person on campus on November 18th, 19th, and 21st at the O'Hara Student Center. Votes were counted on the 22nd, and the graduate students voted in favor of unionization, with the United Steelworkers Union being their exclusive representative, and that vote was certified. So we will proceed with negotiations, which will also likely begin in the new year, and we will keep you posted on that process as well. We have several leadership searches to update you on since our last meeting, and we've welcomed some new members to our community. Alan Green joined us as athletic director on November 1st. Alan's CV includes stints as athletic director at Auburn, senior deputy athletics director at Mississippi, and most recently at Tennessee. And those who've worked with Alan, as you know, speak of him in glowing terms. We're delighted to have him here at Pitt. And last week, we announced the appointment of Marlon Neighbors as the new Associate Vice Provost and Dean of Students, which will be effective on January 2nd, 2025. Marlon comes to Pitt from Endicott College, where he is currently the Senior Student Affairs Officer. At Endicott, he co-chaired a campus-wide strategic planning committee focused on student engagement and success and facilitated the launch of 5 new living learning communities. He's an alum of Central Michigan and a first-gen college graduate, and we are very excited to welcome him here. So my thanks to both Search Advisory Committee that assisted in the AD search and the search committee that helped us identify our new colleague Marlon, and the entire shared governance process that brought us through both of these rigorous, highly successful national searches. We are anticipating winter commencement, especially in the Gable family, members of the board, as we approach the conclusion of our fall 2024 semester. The Pitt community looks forward to the university-wide commencement on December 18th at 3 p.m. at the Peterson Events Center. Our commencement speaker is Holden Thorpe, who is the editor-in-chief of Science and the Science family of journals. This is our second year under the new annual tradition of holding a winter commencement to complement the spring commencement. And I know Holden to be an excellent and very interesting speaker. I very much encourage you to come not only to celebrate our graduates, who of course are having a monumental occasion, but also I know Holden will be a very interesting person to have reflect on this moment for us. We also recently hosted a series of Moonshot mini retreats. So members of the board, as a reminder to advance our It's Possible at Pitt Moonshots in our strategic plan, we bring together a variety of members of our community to build community and partnership and advance the shared vision around each moonshot, which at this time are in life sciences and health sciences, which is anchored in initiatives like BioForge, in sustainability, thriving communities in the future of energy, in digital futures, and in assistive technologies. And the goal is to build community and partnership across the university and advance our shared vision, our sense of place, our unique strengths, and how all of these intersect and come together. These were highly productive and engaging discussions, and the session on assistive technologies was held at the Human Engineering Research Laboratories, or HURL, and hosted by Rory Cooper serving as host, and Dr. Cooper's here, and he's going to be presenting some exciting possibilities at Pitt in assistive technologies today. No one better to do that, that is for sure. And then I'll share a few shout outs. So a shout out to 150 Pitt seniors selected to the class of 2025 Panthers Forward. For this year, these exceptional graduating students were selected for this innovative program that leverages the power of our university community to ease the burden of student loan debt. A shout out to the Pitt community. For the first time, the National Organization on Disability recognized Pitt as one of the nation's leading employers for the people with disabilities, with the leading disability employer seal. Among the 59 organizations earning the seal for 2024, Pitt was the only institution of higher learning, and this is a focus of the Plan for Pitt 2028, including our Moonshot in support of assistive technologies. And I will say thank you to the advocacy of Dr. Rory Cooper for pushing us in this direction. A shout out to SVC for research team, looking to my left over here. The Association of University Technology Managers 2023 licensing survey revealed that Pitt advanced 4 places in the startup rankings, moving from number 24 to number 20. We are tied with Johns Hopkins University and the Research Foundation for the State University of New York. That is all of the universities in the state of New York SUNY system. Pitt is also 3 spots ahead of Carnegie Mellon University and 10 ahead of Ohio State, which has previously outranked us in university funding. A shout out to Trustee Kevin Walker and Senior Vice Chancellor for University Relations and Chief of Staff Kevin Washoe for earning C-Suite awards from the Pittsburgh Business Times. A shout out to Chen Cheng Huang in our Department of Neuroscience and Mathematics, who's won a prestigious National Science Foundation Career Award. And to Tao Han, Distinguished Professor of High Energy Physics in the Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences, who earned the 2025 Mentoring Award from the American Physical Society. A shout out to Pitt student athletes and coaches. For the first time in Pitt history, we had 2 Pitt teams ranked #1 in the nation at the same time. Our women's volleyball team and our men's soccer team. Good luck to those teams who are both currently competing in their NCAA tournaments. And a shout out to Chris Pabst, a 2003 Pitt graduate and investigative reporter in Baltimore. Chris was part of a team that won a National Emmy Award for Outstanding Regional News Story. And with that, that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chancellor. Are there any questions or comments for the Chancellor? Okay, moving on in our agenda. Up next, we have a very special presentation. One of our moonshots in the Plan for Pitt 2028. Joining us today is Dr. Rory Cooper. Assistant Vice Chancellor for Research for STEM, Health Sciences Collaborations, and Founding Director of the Human Engineering Research Laboratories, a Veterans Administration Rehabilitation Research and Development Center of Excellence. Dr. Cooper's research and innovations, which you will hear about in a moment, are truly life-changing. They demonstrate in a tangible way the impact of the University of Pittsburgh and the exciting potential we're striving towards in the plan for Pitt. Dr. Cooper's CV is incredibly robust. I asked to see it before introducing him today and learned of its 121 pages. And his accolades are many, as you can appreciate from that. I'll highlight but two. He was awarded the National Medical of Technology and Innovation by President Biden. And he was inducted into the 50th class of the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Dr. Cooper, thank you for being with us today. We're looking forward to learning more about the Assistive Technologies Moonshot. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Joan said I didn't wear a tie as long as I brought the medal with me. So I'll do if you'd like, I'll pass it along. You're welcome to, because it's not my medal, it's Pitt's medal, and share it with all of you. So thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to share a little bit about the Moonshot that we're just starting. We had our kickoff meeting a few weeks ago, and well, this will be an ongoing process over the next 4 or 5 years. So if we can, there we go. So we're about transformative assistive technology. And if we can go to the next slide. To give you an idea, a recent report came out that even people with disabilities have $21 billion in discretionary income. So this is not, so we often focus on what does Medicare cover, or what does the VA cover, or private insurance cover, but we need to understand that people with disabilities themselves have resources. And their families, their friends, and their employers have additional resources. And so that should be broadening what we want. Up next, there we go. And also the National Council on Disability is an independent federal agency that reports to the President of the United States. And I like this quote, and I think this should be sort of the theme of our Moonshot, is that we need to engage people with disabilities throughout this process. We'd like to have them as our students, as our colleagues, as researchers, as people that go off to be entrepreneurs and create new opportunities. And we want to model, I'd like to see Pitt model as a workplace where people with and without disabilities work together, just as society should be. These magazines, these are all magazine covers where various people from Pitt have been featured, so thought you might like that. So let's define transformative assistive technology just a little bit. I won't go into this in too much detail, but I will say that you know, the World Health Organization, Assistive Technology Industry Association, even Wikipedia, and the United States Congress have tried to define assistive technology. Personally, I think for our plan for Pitt, I would take the top definition, is the World Health Organization definition. I think it's more inclusive. It's also broader in technologies, and it's not only focused on people with disabilities, but also prevention of disability. And then a lot of people don't perceive themselves as having a disability. A lot of older adults, actually a lot of people in the veterans population. So I think in using this modification or this form of definition will be more inclusive in our plans moving forward. And then, of course, transformative research. These are at least some of the major agencies that have tried to define what transformative research is. I don't think any of them are really all that good. And altogether, they're probably fairly encompassing. You know, the NIH one is kind of interesting because it actually names various professions, and it, you know, shows that transformation research not only includes physicians and people in the health sciences, but also people of other areas of science. You know, DARPA looks at new paradigm shifts. It's focused very on science and engineering. I think we want to be more inclusive, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward. We did actually a meta-analysis, and if you look at the circular image on the left, those are the areas, the sort of prime domains that people with disabilities would like to see us working on. Good news is Pitt actually addresses most of those. Also, I'd like to know that 61 million Americans report having some form of disability, which is probably underreported. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't see themselves or perceive themselves as having a disabilities. And then the one other image there shows some of the technology domains that were identified through a meta-analysis. I was asked to look at our competition and collaborator space. I actually think really one of Pitt's strengths is we are really good collaborators. We're good leaders and we're good collaborators. And I think it's a better model than looking at as trying to be necessarily competitors, although we live in the city of champions, and I realize that. So NIDLR is part of Health and Human Services, stands for the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. And really what I want to point out here is there are 15 centers funded across the nation by NIDLR. 3 of those 15 are actually at Pitt, and 6 of those 15 have Pitt affiliations, which means 3 of them are run by alumni of Pitt. So that shows that we're already pretty strong in this domain as country leaders. And you can see we're across different areas. We have the physical access and transportation, we have the wireless and interconnected technologies access, and we have the power of play, which is on sports and recreation technology. And then if you look at where our alumni are, they have the technology to support aging among long-term disabilities, and that's run by Laura Rice, one of our alumni. Information and communication technologies is run by Jody Forlisi, another one of our alumni. That's also in partnership with Microsoft, which is important to note. And then the Recreation and Sport one, which is run by Rachel Cowan, one of our alumni. There are also NSF ERCs. We were a partner for 10 years until we graduated. That's the longest time you can have an engineering research center from the NSF, National Science Foundation, with Carnegie Mellon University. Oftentimes, Carnegie Mellon University partnerships are really strong and bring a high level of research expertise. I had the privilege of being the Pitt director for that center. Then there was also one at USC on creating an artificial retina. There are 2 now, and you can see there are now multiple universities involved in each of them. There are 2 current ARPA-H projects. Hopefully there'll be a 3rd sometime here in the near future we can talk about. But there's a No Kidney Left Behind, and there's the Heart Enabling one at Stanford and West Lafayette, and 34 Live, which is interesting because that's actually a not-for-profit research organization. DOD also is in this space. I underlined this, you mentioned that we are the director, I run the Pittsburgh Center, along with Brad DeCiano from Physical Medicine and Rehab. And then we have, there are 2 DOD centers that we have close partnerships. One of them is at Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences and Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. The other one is at San Antonio Area Military Medical Center, which is part of the Defense Agency. And we are partners with those as well. This is to give you an idea, which might be a little difficult, but really the concept here is that in transformative assistive technology, believe it or not, those are all the federal agencies that provide funding for it. More impressive is Pitt has received funding from every one of those federal agencies for assistive technology research somewhere in the university. I think we've hit all the agencies, we haven't got all the money. That also, it's really great is that we're in line with the Council on Inclusive Innovation, which is a presidential advisory council. It's also focused on assistive technology and inclusion of people with disabilities. I mentioned the National Council on Disability. And then the national academies is also making this a high priority area as well. And it's across all three of the academies: science, engineering, and medicine. On the right of this slide, I just want to show there's a lot of different foundations and consumer organizations, and this is only a small subset of them that are engaged in this space, and we work with. All of these have collaborations with somebody at Pitt already. So let me talk a little bit about our journey. I would first make a little tribute to Judy Heumann. Judy Heumann passed away earlier this year. She was one of the advocates for the Americans with Disability Act. Judy is an honorary doctorate from the University of Pittsburgh and also received the Dick Thornburg Award from the University of Pittsburgh. But I think she says, this will take some time. Obviously, we've been at this for a while, as you can see in my next slide. I would really say maybe it goes back further. My institutional knowledge doesn't go that much further than 1990. When I was asked to put this together, that's sort of where we were able to go back to. When the Musculoskeletal Research Center was created by Drs. Herndon, Wu, and Fu, and that in the Department of Orthopedic Surgery, but also working closely with the School of Engineering. You can see the McGowan Institute was established. It's still one of our flagship institutions. SHRS was renamed. That was the Drs. Brubaker and Detry. Obviously, SH has grown to be one of the most powerful schools on campus. And then the blue are the awards, and major grant awards. And I only listed some of the firsts. So we got our first RERC in 1993. We got our first CDC center on this in 1996. The VA center started in 99. We rented 9-year modular systems in 1999 as well. We got our first the NSF ERC in 2006, as long as our first DARPA Neuroprosthetics Award. And then we got our first large USAID funding in 2015, and then in 2020, we got a Department of Transportation UTC. So we've had a number of firsts. The other things I just wanted to point is bioengineering was established, PM&R established, all of those are working towards the right direction for us as well. And then Dr. CL coming, which we mentioned earlier, that Chancellor mentioned earlier. I think one of the things we need to work on is, Savia Wu got into the National Academy of Engineering. It was also, I would consider working in this space back in 1994. I got into 2024. That's a long gap. And we need to reduce that time frame and get more faculty into the National Academy of Engineering especially, but all the national academies. I'll talk a little bit about some of the research highlights or where our foundation is for our research. Just another Ben Trockman, who's a councilman for Evansville, Indiana, a person with a high spinal cord injury, really talking about how Assistive enables him, but infrastructure provides barriers to his participation in society. So the Healthy Home and Communities Lab is, Healthy Home Lab is, I would say, part of our Healthy Home and Communities initiatives. It's SHRS, School of Public Health, Medicine, Engineering to some extent as well, Swanson School. It's trying to look at a traditional Pittsburgh home and how do you facilitate aging in place and people continue to live in their home. And it's really focused on older adults and aging in place, but it is certainly a multidisciplinary approach and not only research, development, as well as educational model. Lesser known is that both the English department as well as the biomedical informatics department are working on sign language. By the way, that image on the upper left, that is science, is what she's signing. And both of them are working with Gallaudet. Actually, until we started the initiative, they didn't realize they were both working with Gallaudet, both on sign languages for science. So we were able to connect them through this initiative. So I'd say we have at least our first person on base, I guess, by realizing that there are colleagues working in the same space, unaware of each other. I think this is a real opportunity because if you, science communication is great, but it's difficult if you're deaf or hearing impaired and you don't have a language for science and engineering. So neuroengineering is also one of our strengths. I mentioned that in the timeline. But what I think our challenge here is we have a lot of people doing great work, but they're all disconnected. There's very little cohesion, and there's an opportunity, I think, here through this initiative to start bringing people together, getting them to communicate. For example, Cheng Feng Tai is in pathology in the School of Medicine, has a $10 million DARPA grant. We have people over at the RENEL, which is also in medicine, between medicine and engineering, Concha Hill and SHRS. We've got Andy Schwartz and others, Peter Strick in the Brain Institute working in this area. And then, of course, I think on Tuesday, you heard from, Dr. Kozai in the School of Engineering. If we could get them all sort of working in some cohesive fashion as well. There's $8 billion a year in annual costs for spinal cord injury alone, so there's tremendous opportunity here. And so one of the research work is focused on stroke, and that's even a larger population. The McGowan Institute is kind of our leader in regenerative medicine. They have done a good job, I think, of people collectively together. They're working on artificial organs, growing new organs, working at STEM level, and also clinical translation. Dr. Sen, I think, is doing a tremendous job, and it's one of our flagships for the University of Pittsburgh, something that we want to grow in this initiative. Should also think this is probably a non-traditional definition of assistive technology by bringing all of these together, but I think that's a real opportunity for us at the University of Pittsburgh. Dr. Seal and his team with the vision restoration, also very broad, but doing some really amazing work, and now starting to get more recognized for it. And they've got over 40 patents awarded, which is also pretty amazing. Started several startup companies, and they go from stem cell implantation, gene therapy, to addressing social determinants of health, as well as technologies like Street Lab, which is the wearable image, the virtual reality or virtualized reality work that they're doing. And then this is our work in Hurl. We work in these sort of 5 domains. We have a whole variety of different technologies working on, from improved wheelchair designs and robotics and alternative power sources to prosthetic limb technologies using advanced athletic shoe technology to autonomous vehicles and transportation systems. And I'd just like to show, we talk about funding and research grants and that, and I think those are outputs. Then we need to look at outcomes, which be things like standards and students trained and startups and things like that. And then but we also need to get at impact and how do we change people's lives. And so I'm going to show you a little video of how Pitt has changed people's lives. So if we could go to the next slide.
Current graduate student at Pitt School of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences is a researcher studying under Rory Cooper. Their team works out of the Human Engineering Research Laboratories, where they modeled and built the new chair. The chair that makes a challenging trip to the water park, well, fun.
I like to have the freedom to run around.
It was rewarding to see just how he lit up and the enjoyment that he got out of going through the sprinklers and the water.
He wants to be independent. Quite frankly, we let him go for 30 minutes by himself, and that's what he wants.
And Rory thinks children without disabilities who witness this independence will be influenced too.
That's the kind of experiences you want kids to have, so that when they grow up, they don't have those biases, and they can say, "Hey, I've seen people with disabilities do it just like I have."
So what I like about that video, that's at Morgan's Inspiration Island down in San Antonio, Texas. Hundreds of kids or thousands of kids now over the last 6 years have been able to use those devices. They use them for free. But if you look in the back of the video, you see like the girls running around and stuff, and he's just another kid at the water park. And that's really what we want to achieve. We're also doing some great work in education. This is Aaron Hawley from Easter Seals, you know, and being able to, what I like is, you know, home and community-based services is working as, you know, this is the beauty about Pitt of having broad expertise across the entire institution. So the Healthy Home Lab is a really great educational tool. They're starting to use it to train engineering students and students across the School of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences. The UPMC Rehab Institute, the I Institute, if you ever get a chance, are tremendous and really, truly amazing facilities right here in Pittsburgh, affiliated with the University of Pittsburgh. And I think offer a real strength and opportunity. And it's about learning in real-world settings, from some acute care all the way at state-of-the-art research to transition to living at home or staying at home. This is kind of a fun project that we did. We're challenged. We first got started with Department of Transportation funding. Now we have NIDLR funding as well as U.S. Department of State funding, which you might not think of. It's to look at how to revamp education about public transportation for people with disabilities. So you can see we've got a large number of students. We've got about 100 students now go through, learn, play the board game and do pre-post testing and show that it improves empathy towards people with disabilities, improves their knowledge of transportation barriers and news of knowledge of transportation in a fun way. It's a physical board game as well as an electronic board game. And then recently we got funding from the Department of State to work with the country of Timor-Leste. And actually, the Chancellor made this a connection for us. She asked in the spring if we would take a student from Timor-Leste and have her come in our lab, and we were able to get a State Department grant to continue that work as she returned to Timor-Leste. So it's pretty exciting, so thank you for that. And then, you know, we're starting to get recognized as also being recognized. The National Academies listed us as extraordinary engineering of impact on society for our work with our Aspire, which is a National Science Foundation Research Experience for Undergraduate program, our VA-funded re-up experience for undergraduates and graduates, which we call Valor, and then our Elevate program, which is our program funded for veterans, which was originally funded by NSF, and now funded by generous alumni of the University of Pittsburgh. And then we don't only we want to get to young kids to create the next generation, so we worked with the National Inventors Hall of Fame on the Illuminate workbook, and then worked with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on a curriculum match the inventors to the invention memory game, like a little card game, done a middle school curriculum, a high school curriculum, and now we're also through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and that was highlighted in the report to Congress on the Success Act. So I think these are things not about impact as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Wonderful presentation. I'd now ask my colleagues if anyone has a question or comment for Dr. Cooper while we have it. Well, seeing none, I can simply say we can't tell you how very proud we are of you, your colleagues, and your work. We watch aggressively and actively and can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask Jeff Marchak, Chairperson of the Property and Facilities Committee, to share an update with us. Chair Marchak.
Thank you, Chairperson Verbanek. During a regular public meeting on December 4th, 2024, the Property and Facilities Committee authorized 2 capital projects and recommended a 3rd capital project for approval by the Board of Trustees. The committee approved a resolution authorizing Phase 2 and 3 of the Alan McGee Scaife Hall expansion for the Winter Institute for Simulation, Education, and Research, also known as WISER. This $13.75 million project builds upon a previously approved Phase 1 project to consolidate facilities for WISER within Scaife Hall. The new location offers improved accessibility for students and practicing professionals in adjacent UPMC facilities. Phase 2 and 3 will provide additional simulation training and office space. The committee also approved a resolution authorizing the Fifth and Halkett building fit-out for the Center for Excellence in Digital Education, also known as Pitt Edge. The new center is being developed to support the planning, development, and implementation of online and continuing education programming for multidisciplinary programs across the university. The new space on the second floor of the Fifth and Halkett building will include simulation rooms for training and assessment, high-fidelity recording studios for online instruction, and large classrooms and laboratories for hybrid learning. The project was approved in amount not to exceed $16 million. The committee also approved a resolution recommending Board of Trustees approval for the Fifth and Halkett fit-out for consolidation of the computational and systems biology and swing space for the School of Medicine. The $35 million estimated value of this project requires approval by the full board.
As Jeff mentioned, included on our agenda today is a recommendation to approve the Fifth and Halkett fit-out for the consolidation of computational and systems biology in the swing space for the School of Medicine. Jeff, would you please share some additional details regarding this project with our colleagues, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Verbanek. The School of Medicine plans to consolidate space for the Department of Computational and Systems Biology within the new Fifth and Halkett building. The department is currently housed in 2 separate locations on campus, and consolidation will enable seamless integration of the computational and experimental system analysis central to the department's research and teaching mission. The project will also provide much-needed flexible wet laboratory swing space to allow relocation of active research during renovations in existing aged facilities. The Property and Facilities Committee recommends to the Board of Trustees approval for this project in an estimated cost of $35 million.
Well, thank you for moving the approval, Jeff, on this item on behalf of the Property and Facilities Committee. May I have a second? Hearing a second, is there any questions regarding the project or discussion? Chair recognizes Peter Verischetti.
Thank you, Chairperson Verbanek. Either Mr. Marchek or Dr. Shakar or even Dwayne, I know at previous meetings we've approved different projects at the Fifth and Halkett site, including the School of Health and Rehab Sciences. Just can you provide a little overview of the building itself, how many floors, are occupied now, and you know where we go from here?
Thank you, Mr. Verischetti. Yes, this is a new building that's going on Fifth and Halkett. It has roughly 8 floors for use by the academic unit, and the first floor is for retail as per a variety of city regulations. So the School of Rehab, Health and Rehab Sciences will occupy 7 of those, and the second floor of this building would be part of our Pitt Edge, which is the online new programs that will be starting with a leadership from Tony Toledo, who's currently the Dean of School of Health and Rehab Sciences. The remaining part of the 7 floors will be moving all of the School of Health and Rehab Sciences, with some exceptions, to Oakland campus, which the school has been spread across multiple parts of the city. And the top 2 floors of this building will be occupied by the School of Medicine. 1 floor of that will be for computational and systems biology. And this is uniquely positioned because right now those the different components of the department, the laboratory component and the computational components, are in 2 different buildings. And while the work itself requires integration of both components of the department. So this provides a new space for that to happen. And the current space where they are occupying to keep all of their current laboratories will house the bioinformatics department in the School of Medicine, which currently is in a leased space outside of campus. So this would also reduce our lease, spaces outside of campus as well. So that's the structure and the rationale for what we're doing there.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shakar.
Thank you. I recognize Trustee Lieberman.
Doctor, did I hear you right, that the city's requiring us to put retail on the first floor? That's a requirement of doing the building?
I think that was how the approvals were for the building because of the way, and I can let some other experts respond to that, but the first floor is...
Yeah, I just was curious if we were required to do it or we did it because we wanted to do it.
I think during the zoning process, we were working with neighborhood groups, and that was one of the agreements that we made that we would try to put it on. It was not necessarily a requirement by the city.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Seeing and, oh, Robbie, you must be in a blind spot for me.
Or maybe you're just tired of
No,
talking to me.
please. Trustee Luxbacher.
The one that's near and dear to my heart, could I think this would be Dr. Pickney, give an update on the campus master plan and whether we'll be able to consolidate other schools and departments that are spread around the university.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the campus master plan is proceeding, and certainly contemplated within it is a view towards opportunities to consolidate and to, I'll say, rationalize the use of our spaces, and that would include co-locating programs in close proximity that may be more dispersed at this point in time. So that is a part of the campus master plan as those plans mature. We had a brief discussion yesterday about the master planning process more generally, and as we move from, because it's global and comprehensive in its scope, and as we move to spec-specific projects, facilities, you translate from what is, I'll say, kind of the ideal in the master planning setting, and translating that into physical spaces on the ground. It's not always a one-to-one, but directionally it's certainly aligned, and where programming is concerned, we certainly see that there are opportunities to do the kind of co-location that's been referenced here, and that will be our plan moving forward. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And having had the motion moved and seconded, is there any further discussion? Gary Brownlee?
Yeah, actually I had a question following on Dr. Pinkney's comments. How much unused space in broad terms do we have around the university, and how much of that is what I'd call zombie space, stuff that doesn't easily lend itself to redeployment?
Yeah, so that is a great question. I know that we will have that answer. I don't have that answer immediately, but part of a planning process is to identify where we have densities and where we have opportunities. So we'll have more information on. I'd almost go ahead and say that I don't think we have a lot of, quote, what I would refer to as dead space. I'm confident that we have some underutilized spaces, and so we will be identifying those underutilized spaces and determining how best to arrange and organize our activities and programs to optimize the use of our spaces. So that is a part of the process, and as more information is available, I'll be sure to circle back and make the board and certainly the Property and Facilities Committee aware.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? No, I'm pretty sure I don't see any. With that having been moved and seconded, All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Thank you. The resolution is passed. Up next, we have a very special resolution. It's a resolution of appreciation for our very own John Elliott. And for that, I'd like to ask the former chair of the Audit Committee, Trustee John Marr, to kick off the introduction of this resolution. John?
A resolution of appreciation for John P. Elliott. Whereas, following a successful career in public accounting, John P. Elliott joined the University of Pittsburgh's Internal Audit Department in 1992. And whereas Mr. Elliott was promoted to serve as Director of Internal Audit in 1995, a role he has held with distinction and integrity for nearly 3 decades.
And whereas in this role, he has helped the university accomplish its objectives by bringing a systemic, disciplined approach to evaluating and improving the effectiveness of risk management, internal control, and governance processes. And whereas during his tenure at the university, Mr. Elliott has been a tremendous partner to the Board of Trustees, serving as committee liaison to the Audit Committee, inaugural committee liaison to the Risk and Compliance Committee, and most recently as committee co-liaison to the Audit, Risk, and Compliance Committee. And
whereas his unwavering work over the decades to ensure the Internal Audit Department provides valuable support in maintaining the public's confidence by performing independent and objective reviews, inspired the accountability and trust pillar in the university's new strategic plan, the Plan for Pitt 2028, and
whereas Mr. Elliott has made numerous contributions to the university writ large, including chairing the 1997-98 NCAA Certification Self-Study Steering Committee and the Year 2000 Task Force, and whereas in 2002, when the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was introduced, he drove the university to make critical improvements to internal controls over the financial reporting processes, and
whereas, thanks to Mr. Elliott's diligence and hard work ethic, the Internal Audit Department is in a position of strength as he retires. And whereas, he recently guided the Internal Audit Department through its 5-year Quality Assurance and Improvement Program external review, receiving the top rating achievable.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees do hereby express their sincere appreciation and profound gratitude to John P. Elliott for his outstanding leadership and exceptional contributions to the extraordinary progress of the University of Pittsburgh. And be it further resolved that the members of the Board of Trustees wish John P. Elliott much happiness as he enjoys the journey of his retirement. And be it further resolved that this resolution be made a permanent part of the university's records, and that it be suitably inscribed and presented to John P. Elliott as a symbol of gratitude for the steadfast leadership that he has provided and the high regard in which he is held by his many friends and colleagues at the University of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. And with that, may I have a motion to approve the resolution? And a second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The resolution is passed. Please join me in a round of applause for John. John, would you please join the Chancellor and I in the front of the room, and we'll present you with your resolution. I do have one additional item of business before we adjourn, and a sad one. But, you know, I'd like to acknowledge a long-standing member of the Pitt community who passed away on November 21st. Jim Marr, Provost Marr, quite a personality, man and leader on this campus for quite a long time. You know, he dedicated 47 years of his life to this university, including 16 as our provost. Our thoughts are with Jim's wife, Angie, the entire Marr family, and I'd simply like to ask for a moment of silence in recognition of Jim. Thank you for that. With that, is there any additional business to be brought before the board? Hearing and seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.